I've got the looks and the charm of an old movie star. Cary Grant, if you will, so I find it bizarre that this girl should refuse to step into my car. She must be shy, she'll come around, it's just a matter of time. Aurora, Aurora.
Hey there, Screen Beans, and welcome to Screen Snark, the podcast that celebrates all of the shows that are in our eyes, on our minds, and in our hearts. I am Rachel Corgi Shank.
And I am Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon. See, I paused that time to make sure you weren't going to say an additional title.
I had nothing. I had no joke title.
It's fine. You're always full of surprises, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I just, I want to be a very bad improviser and just keep you on your toes.
I've got news for you. You are, and you're doing a great job.
I'm a bad improviser,
exactly.
yes.
Yeah. That's all the show is very bad improvisation.
No, but.
That's
what I say. No, but. Yes, and.
Yes, and.
Yes, and.
And? I don't know.
We're
already off the
rails.
That's
the improv mantra.
No, I know. I was kidding.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought I went too far afield and had to
I was yes-anding. You're a yes-and.
There's an art form. It's called improv.
All right.
And it's where talented people make things up. And they have a rule.
We've made our guest wait long enough. I am really excited. Have we? Yes, and. Our guest today is the incredible Joe Adragna. I always have to say it to myself first because I know I've said it before, but I was good. There are letters, and I'm like, am I saying it right? But it's Joe Adragna. He is also known as the Junior League, which is an incredible band that I have been listening to since way back in the ye old day of 2018.
Wow.
Joe and I connected via...
That's 1,000 years ago.
1,000 years ago. Joe and I connected...
Canonically.
...through my other podcast, now CPOV Autographs, but was then Crash Chords Autographs. Joe, thank you for coming on Screen Snark.
Yeah,
thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much.
Joe is an incredibly talented musician and makes some incredible music. He's been releasing an album a year for like 5 years, which is wild to me. But his newest album out now, Bridge and Tunnel, which has a very New York vibe. Although your last record also, I feel like, had a New York vibe as well and like a amusement park kind of feel. But I'm very excited that you wanted to come on the show and promote it, and we're gonna chat about it. I'm just glad that in the pandemic you're still making music because I have a lot of friends who like kind of just fell off during this time. So I'm glad you're here. So thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And but this is not, and we will talk more about Joe's work in the latter half as always. But this is not a show about talking. I don't know. I didn't have a transition there. It just didn't work as well,
Yes, and
yes, and
as is traditional with our show, we will talk about the most recent thing that we have watched.
Thank you.
Yes, and as per usual, Matt
will go first. Thank you, Rachel.
Matt,
Smooth.
No one will notice.
No one, not a
that
single
one
person.
Went a little awry.
It's fine.
Not at all. It'll be fine.
But Rachel is correct. We are going to talk about the most recent things we've watched. And the most recent thing I watched, I finished moments before we started recording because I had seen the first episode of a long time ago when it first came out. A long time ago was probably a year ago. It's hard to even tell.
Yeah, 1,000 years ago, which was last week.
And then I remembered that it existed. And I was like, I want to watch the rest of this. And so the show is a Netflix original series called The History of Swear Words. And if you are not familiar with this show, it is a show guided, one could say, by Nicolas Cage.
Oh my! I was girding myself to be ready for just about anyone. I was like, it's going to be Kim Jong. I know it has to be.
Could have been Kim Jong.
That man cannot say no to a project if he tried.
But no.
What?
Yes. So it was hosted by Nicolas Cage, and it is a history of swear words. There's 6 episodes, and it goes through. We don't do a ton of swearing here, but it goes through the etymology of curse words from like their inception to how they've evolved. And they do fuck, they do bitch, they do pussy, they do dick, they do damn. And there's one more.
I am 7 years old.
Hey, it's fine.
You just listed them.
And you're giggling. Yeah. But what I love about it is the vibe of the show is very much like the Ripley's Believe It or Not, or that kind of thing, where it's like it's Nick Cage in a suit in like a nice room with books and painting art and looking at novels and like introducing specialists, but it also has the vibe of like the I Love the 90s shows where there are comedians and actors and people kind of ducking in to talk about their experience with the words, and then professionals who work in and around either like the history of feminism or just etymology in general, talking about where this stuff comes from. And it's meant to be very silly and over the top. Each episode's about 20 minutes long. And of course, they'll conveniently, like if there's a joke using that word, they'll feature a clip from one of their many Netflix comedy specials throughout the show as well, which I caught on by like the third one when they showed a clip from Anthony Jeselnik. I was like, oh, I remember that special. Oh, that's a Netflix special. Oh, okay, that's why they have the rights to use this. They didn't have to ask anybody. They own it. But it's great. It's a lot of fun. It's really silly. Also, like if you're a Nick Cage fan, like I am, who will watch him in anything, it's just a joy. It was really a fun watch, and it's super bite sized. It kind of felt like what if Netflix did a YouTube series, actually.
That's cute. Yeah. I love that. I do have a question. How memeable is Nick Cage as this host?
Very.
Like, okay, cool. I was like, are we approaching like
Oh yeah.
DW and Arthur and Jonathan Frakes in fact or fiction?
Yes.
Levels of, because it feels like it. It feels like we're just doing fact or fiction, but with Nick Cage this time.
More or less. And what's funny is like in the episode where they're talking about pussy, he's painting furiously.
Sorry, I'm 7.
It's fine. He's painting furiously as he's talking about like the importance of this word and building up to it. And then like he's clearly not actually painting, but he's painting furiously. And then when they cut to the picture, it's of an open flower with the word in it. It's not a picture of the feminine anatomy.
Yeah, we went the Georgia O'Keeffe route.
Right.
Keep it classy, Nick Cage.
Keeping it classy, Nick Cage. But yeah, and then like it features Sarah Silverman and Nick Offerman and
Great people.
Open Mike Eagle, like all sorts of really cool folks in and around the industry, and then a bunch of professionals whose names have fallen out of my head because I'm bad with names. But it's a good show. If you have a couple hours to kill, like it's really a fun watch because it's both a gag the whole way through, and Nick Cage knows it is, but also educational and really serious. And like the first episode, I think is shit. It's either shit or fuck. And so like those are some of the harsher curse words, right? The ones that we think of, the biggest expletives. And then the season finale is damn. And like the whole arc is like, why is this word acceptable now? Like it's in film all the time. It's in TV all the time. But it was when Clark Gable said it, it was absolutely not okay. It was a huge deal that he said, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. So like, why did that peter out? I think it's a fun and interesting way of approaching things that rightfully so make us giggle like children when we hear them, but it takes some of the power away a little bit by talking about it frankly. And like, I mean, that's something Rachel and I have harped on before in this country, and kind of how prudish the US can be. So for a show like this to exist on Netflix is really fun because it's like, yes, these words are curse words, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't know what they are and where they're from, right? You should be educated. And so, yeah, so it was a fun show. And the reason I say it's like Netflix did a YouTube series is because they're 20 minutes long. They really kind of, it's like punch after punch after punch. Like there's not a lot of like long pauses. And there are bits. Like it reminds me, honestly, of like one of our good friend who we haven't mentioned in a few weeks, Patrick H. Willems, Hey Patrick. He doesn't listen to the show. He has no time. But hey Patrick.
Right. Sorry, that's the other show.
That's the other show.
Hey Patrick. Either way.
But like when he did his Cats video, it had like this arc, and like you were featured in it as like a cat spurt, and like
I've watched the West End production of the musical Cats. many
Many
times.
But like,
and likely will again. It's very good.
but like, I like how like even Patrick's earlier videos before there was really a narrative, it was often him talking, and then they'd sometimes cut to a person like that he knew that he was friends with, like Kendra or someone who would talk on the subject that he's talking about, and this had that kind of feel. And since most YouTube videos these days are like 40 minutes to an hour, it's like this being 20.
Oh, you haven't made it to the long YouTube. I'm looking at you, Quentin Reviews. 5 hours on iCarly. What are we doing?
Oh, but
it's actually an amazing piece. Please watch it.
You have to
It's
send me
very
that.
thorough.
I love iCarly.
It's
You have to send me
really, it's really good and really thorough.
Okay.
And then I think he did it in 2 parts.
that. Okay.
And then also did another like multi-hour deep dive on Victorious.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Obviously.
they're great. Yeah, they're also super. Again, that nice like delivering of information in nice bite-sized sections. Real good. Sorry, derailed.
For the kids out there, Ariana Grande, before she was a world famous
Cat
singer,
Valentine.
was a actress on Victorious, and how I first heard of her.
Not allowed to sing on that show enough because her voice absolutely clowns on the lead.
Oh, absolutely,
consistently.
100%. Yeah.
Like, oh boy.
So, I wanted to ask you about the 20 minutes. It probably makes it so much more digestible, and you can watch a couple in a row if you've got time. And you know, what was what do you think? How do they wrap it up? Like usually it's easy to kind of jump in, but how do they wrap up the episodes? In other words, like what do they leave you with? What's the? Do you know what I'm saying? Like.
Yeah. So it's always bookended by Nick. So Nick Cage he's throughout it and sprinkled in to like transition the talking points. Mm-hmm. And then the end is always kind of about how important the word is, or taking the word back. Like when they did bitch, he talked about bad bitch. Like to hear Nicolas Cage say the term bad bitches is so funny to me. And like with sincerity though, you know how Nick Cage delivers. Like every time in the episode about dick as a curse word, he would pause. He would go, and the word dick is this word where, and like literally leave seconds between each word. But each episode would kind of end with a coda from him, kind of just wrapping up like this understanding or affirmation of the word that was discussed. And it felt very complete. They were fun little things like. And I think what makes them really interesting is that it's not just comedy. It's not just serious like documentary, but it is considered a documentary series because it's shot like one, and they bring on actual professionals within the fields to talk about these words. And I think that's really fascinating. It only has 1 season. I think it came out a couple years ago. I'm hoping it gets another season because I think it's fun. And they're
what words are missing?
Well, so like they have. I mean, remember, language is evolving.
Matt, say more swear words.
Yeah, say more swear words.
Say all of them.
But like, I think it'd be really interesting to talk about swear word. Like, it's recent enough that they talk about WAP when they talk about the word pussy, and so like, so it must have been last year that it came out then. But like, I would love for them to, because they, in the Damn episode, they talk about how it's kind of faded out. I would love for them to talk about newer curses or like, made up curse words. Like think about like frack or flark from the Guardians of the Galaxy comics and video game. Like those kinds of fake curse words, and why are they considered like they're just a substitute for actual curse words, but why do they exist? Like there's a lot of routes it could go. I mean, also Nick Cage is making like 18 movies a year at this point, so who knows if they can get him back. But yeah, it was a fun watch. I highly recommend it if you're looking for something short and sweet to dive into and learn a little something too. Essentially, if you are like me who spend way too much time on YouTube watching video essays about stuff, this is that kind of show for you. It feels very much like a YouTube video essay, but on Netflix.
Yeah. I do have to ask, I don't want to terribly pick the picture of this, but what did you find the most like interesting like fact about a curse word? You know, like what was the thing like while you were watching this, you just went, "What? Yeah?" like something that just kind of like freaked your bean a little.
So, I mean, there were a few things, like, I think it's interesting, apparently, like, the word pussy not only refers to feminine genitalia, but also, or a certain kind of genitalia, I should say, right? Because biology, gender is a fiction. But
the any version of it.
The any version. But it also started out
as opposed to the Audi version.
Right. But it also referred to, obviously, cats. But it also, at one point, referred to just a woman, just broadly. You would refer to a woman by this word, but not in the derogatory way. It was just like a descriptive word. And like, but all of that.
What's new, pussycat? Whoa,
I mean,
whoa,
yes.
whoa.
But like, what was fascinating was they don't know which came first. They all kind of started around the same time and were in print in certain places. But there's no, like, with a lot of other swear words, it's like it started on this date. This is the first Grecian word that it was born out of, or whatever other thing. Before that word, there's this crossover between the stories, and they're not quite sure where it started from. But they did, of course, then talk about the evolution and how it became about genitals and referring to one's genitals in the same way that, like, Dick, which is short for Richard, I never understood how you get Dick from Richard. What I didn't realize is, like other nicknames, it's you drop letters and then rhyme it. So, for example, Robert got shortened to Rob and then became Bob, which rhymed. Richard got shortened to Rick and then became Dick. Like, that was fascinating to me because I never really understood the etymology of nicknames. And like, that's
also, if you want to get Dick from Richard, just ask him nicely.
Yes. But yeah, and so the show did actually have quite a lot of facts like that. But those were the two big ones that, like, I was like, oh, that seems kind of obvious, but yet that's pretty cool. I never realized that. So yeah, it's a fun watch. And also, if you're like a podcast person, like, the visuals are nice, but it's one of those shows you can also like put on while you're doing something because you mostly only need to listen. I mean, Nick Cage looks awesome, and he's often his scenes are comical because of the setup as well as what he's saying. But yeah, it was a blast. I highly recommend it.
And how many episodes were there in that season? I'm so sorry. Excuse me.
No, please.
6. There were 6.
Okay.
Cool. That's neat. I was going to make a joke about Elizabeth to Peggy. It's fine.
They mentioned that too.
How did they get there?
So actually it's not Elizabeth to Peggy.
It's Margaret to Peggy. You're right.
And so it's Margaret to Meg to Peg.
Meg to Peg. Got
Peggy.
it.
Yep. But they do that one too. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I would have wondered about that all night.
Now you know,
Did
so you
they
don't have to
explain it?
wonder.
And I've learned something.
And now I don't even have to watch the show.
There you go.
I know everything now. Knowledge by proxy.
Yeah, there you go. I'm just here to spread the knowledge. That's my purpose.
So Matt, unless you have any other thoughts about this,
I don't.
Beautiful. If you had to sum up a history of swear words,
That's what it's called,
right?
The history of
not
words.
a history of swear words. It is only the one of the histories. There's a lot of them. If you had to sum up this docuseries in just 3 words, and I encourage swearing on this one, I don't care, how would you describe it?
Very fucking educational.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent.
There it is.
Had to go that
my
route.
Levels. I'm glad. I'm
Had to
glad.
go that route. Yeah, no, I definitely recommend it. It was genuinely fascinating and a fun watch. So definitely go check it out if you have Netflix. If you don't, then I guess you can't. But otherwise, there you go. Well, you can, but do
what you gotta if you wanna.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely. But moving on from me, Rachel, you've been posting in the Discord recently about how you are on your bullshit in a particular way, especially for this episode.
Oh, I'm not talking about that yet.
Oh, okay.
Listen, I am on multiple levels of trash. And that trash is just going to keep trucking into at least a couple episodes.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
Oh, boy. So I was recently made aware that a little cinema gem from 2015 exists. It is a George Lucas film.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it was a George Lucas film that he did for Disney as part of the agreement for Disney to buy the Star Wars.
Okay.
And it is an animated jukebox musical that George Lucas himself said he wanted to make it so it was Star Wars for girls, and it's called Strange Magic.
I've never heard of this.
Wow.
Okay. All right, here we go. So all of that happened.
Right.
And this movie is wild. The premise is there's a fairy princess and she's in love with a handsome fairy knight. But then she finds that he's philandering and she becomes this hard-hearted, like, Taming of the Shrew Kate character.
Okay.
And she has a younger sister who's very much, like, naive and in love, and their fairy kingdom is at odds with the kingdom of darkness, which is ruled over by the Bog King. And the Bog King wants to destroy all of the primroses because primroses are used to make love potions. And that's it for the story. The fairy princess goes to save her sister, who takes the love potion, and accidentally falls in love with the Bog King. But then the fairy princess, the older sister, whose name is Marianne, falls in love with the Bog King. And the moral of the story is don't judge a book by its cover. I think it's hard really to get a lot of theme from this because they spend most of their dialogue singing snippets of, I guess, just whatever George Lucas had on his iPod at the time. It does the absolute opposite of what musicals are supposed to do, which is highlight a highly emotional state.
Right.
And because everything is sung, nothing has weight to it. So all of the sudden, like, Marianne is flying around in her little wedding dress, getting excited for her marriage before it's ruined, singing "I Can't Help Falling in Love with You," and then shifts into like a pop rock song where she's like, "I'm done with love," and everything is just trying to be delineated through top 40 hits, and these are not pushing that story forward. So it's not very heavy on story, but it is very dense on absolutely bug nuts choices. Evan Rachel Wood is voicing Marianne, and there's one section, and it's my favorite thing that's ever happened, and I just want everyone to know about it, where Marianne is yelling at her younger sister, and she says, "You need to get your head out of the clouds. Clouds full of boys." And this line delivery is so bad, and I love it. I'm going to get it tattooed on me somewhere. Clouds full of boys.
Clouds full of boys.
Yeah, and so the whole premise is Marianne needs to move on past this, like, bad love affair that she had, and the Bog King needs to get over, like, a time that he gave his crush some love potion and she didn't love him back because this love potion doesn't work if you're actually in love with someone. It's very sweaty. It's not very good, and sometimes it does look nightmarish. The Bog King looks like your typical, like, baddie, you know, like, very, like, gray and craggy and all of this, but, like, turns out to be the romantic lead, which is cool, you know, like, it's a very subversive choice. But they made him just look so bad and evil that it kind of, like, makes your brain go, I don't quite get it, you know, like, it doesn't give you enough of his character to supersede what the cinema language of his aesthetic is, you know? And because everyone's just singing all the time, you don't really get to, like, that emotional core of all your characters. So suddenly they're different, and you're just like, I don't get why, but okay. Good job on your sword fight song number, Bog King and Marianne. I guess you fell in love there.
But does the Bog
It's
King
wild.
sing well?
Yes, it's Alan Cumming.
Oh,
amazing.
gosh. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, they got some really like top tier talent. They've got Evan Rachel Wood as Marianne, Alan Cumming as the Bog King, Maya Rudolph as the Bog King's mother.
she's amazing.
Amazing, so funny. And the young actor who played Seaweed in Hairspray plays a little gnome who's in love with the younger sister. You know, like that very like Cyrano thing. Yeah, everything. Kristen Chenoweth plays the Sugar Plum Fairy. So like this is talent, but they gave them such garbage to play with. But I would watch it again. I would absolutely watch it again in a heartbeat. It's like so breezy because it's just a long music video.
By the way, while you were talking about it, I did Google the Bog King to see what he looked like, and I've seen images of this movie now. Like, I had no idea this was George Lucas, but like, I think I've seen images of it because I opened Disney Plus recently, and it must be plastered there somewhere. But like, I'd forgotten its existence until I saw images of it. But like looking at the images, I'm like, okay, I remember this stuff. I mean, to me, it just sounds like a bootleg Fern Gully, honestly. A much better movie.
It has the aesthetics of a bootleg Fern Gully, but wants so badly to be a Midsummer Night's Dream, Taming of the Shrew, and Much Ado About Nothing, and cannot get any of them because you keep singing every 10 seconds. Like, I love when things are sung. Again, watched the West End production of Cats more times than I will ever know to admit. And that has none plot, and it's all music. But it's all music that is, like, elucidating you to the core of a character or a tenet of this world in which these characters live. But, like, when your like gnome guy is just singing Three Little Birds to like the woman he loves, you can't really get that because that's not in the lyrics of the song. You haven't hit that emotional frenzy that is like confessional or cathartic in any way. So it's just, it comes across as very empty. So at the end when he like gets the girl, you're kind of like, oh, I guess, yeah. But you kind of like tried to get her to fall in love with you using a love potion, so maybe you don't really love her at all, and nothing that has happened in any of the songs that you've sung give us that. You know, we're just kind of constantly told what all of this means. At the end, the fairy king is like, I guess I shouldn't judge the guys that my daughters love because that's rude, and then instantly like judges all of them. It's
amazing.
Wild.
Like, so it sounds to me like my experience seeing Movin' Out on Broadway. So Movin' Out, for those who don't know, is a Billy Joel jukebox musical that's all Billy Joel music, but there's no dialogue. And I didn't read, so each act has a synopsis in the playbill. I didn't read the synopsis in the first act. So I had no idea what was going on. For the second act, I read the synopsis and read for both acts. And so I had a better idea of the through line. But this sounds like that kind of a mess where, like, there's not really a lot of narrative. And, like, Moving Out was fine. I'm a big Billy Joel fan, so I was overly critical of it because, like, the guy who's, like, cause they had a lead pianist, composer who was, like, also singing a lot of the songs. And it was mostly, like, ballet, essentially, to Billy Joel music.
Yeah,
it was fine.
Tharp and, like, her whole thing.
Right. And so, like, this sounds like an evolution of that, where it's like, unless you have like a description at the beginning, you're like, I guess things are happening.
Yeah. I mean, don't worry. You're not going to get confused or lost because they're going to tell you exactly everything in that very, like, George Lucas clunky dialogue, because George Lucas doesn't actually like actors.
No.
And would like to make movies completely without them entirely.
Right.
You know, it's funny. George Lucas did American Graffiti, right?
Yes.
Which is one of my favorite movies.
Right.
You know, and it's amazing that he was so. I think that movie's brilliant, and to hear the description of this is really disappointing. You know, and I did look up the Bog King as well, and he looked like Winter Warlock from the year Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Yeah.
Oh, he's absolutely like on the level of like Tumblr sexy man. Like, I get it. Like, I imagine like Tumblr girls who loved the Onceler. I guess Tumblr everyone. Like, I'm not gonna.
The animation also kind of looks like Rise of the Guardians a little bit.
Yeah,
Like,
a little bit.
Like
Yeah.
because I'm remembering what like Claus and Jack Frost and the Easter Bunny look like in that, and it's a similar kind of angular animation style, which is fine. I don't hate.
Which works, but again, it's there. It's such a like an interesting idea executed just really poorly because Lucas doesn't want to work with actors and like give them nice juicy things to work with. So like you have lines like "Get your head out of the clouds." Clouds full of boys. And I'm not kidding. They animated Marianne to look kind of confused.
Well, good, because I'd be confused too.
Because Evan Rachel Wood was in the booth just like, they like copied a lot of her faces into the animation. And that's just beautiful. Like, please watch this whole movie just to watch that line delivery. Like, it's madness.
And this is on Disney Plus.
Yeah, it's on Disney Plus.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's a breeze. And also like it's top 40 songs. Like you can't be mad when like one of them singing that cute little song that's like, I know one thing that I love you. It's like it's cute. Like Kristen Chenoweth is absolutely chewing the scenery.
I mean, when isn't she?
It's camp. I love it.
Well, Rachel.
Oh, God.
If you had to sum up Strange Magic, which I had to Google just to remember the name of this thing.
Yeah, don't worry. They do use that song in the, like, the Bond
good.
King and Marianne are falling in love. Don't worry.
Oh, great. If you had to sum up the movie Strange Magic without the words strange or magic, and it seems like strange would be a good word to describe it, but I'm not letting you. Yeah. What 3 words would you use to describe this movie?
Clouds, fulla, boys.
Nice. Fulla, one word. F-U-L-L-A.
Yeah, fulla of boys. That or Lucas hates dialogue. Like, just hates it. Just is like, it has to be used to like let people know what's going on, but I hate every second of it.
Amazing. This is one of those movies, like, we've all been there where you hear a movie so bad that you kind of it makes you want to watch it more.
Yeah.
Like, this sounds like one of those.
Don't get it twisted. Everything that I have said about this being just not great, absolutely fun. I want to go watch it again. Like, just to to watch it from a place of I'm not discovering all of this for the first time.
Like, you know what's coming.
Just to be like, I want to understand this movie a lot more.
Amazing. Well, now it is time to shift to our incredible guest, Joe. Joe, what is the most recent thing you, my friend, have watched?
Well, I've watched the Get Back documentary 3 times. I've actually made it through the 6-hour documentary 3 times because I'm so obsessed with the Beatles that I had to watch it.
Sure.
And boy, is that an investment. It's a lot of documentary, but it's amazing though. And really, I thought I knew everything about the Beatles. I've read a billion books. I'm like, you know, and I discovered things in the documentary that I really didn't fully understand in terms of their dynamics, their relationship with one another. And it was, for something that could easily be construed as being completely and utterly boring, it was fascinating. It really was, because, you know, the more time you kind of eavesdrop in on people and you're kind of just watching, you really do get a sense of who they were and what the dynamics between those people were. And it isn't just, I felt like Peter Jackson did a remarkable job, but that's what I can't believe I found time to watch it like through literally once myself. I made my son watch it with me, and then I just started watching it again at night before you fall asleep, put a little bit on for a bit. You know, it's fantastic. Are either one of you guys?
So I haven't seen it yet. I'm familiar with it. I mean, I'm a big Beatles fan, but documentaries for me, like, I don't always like. I have to be really drawn to it, and sometimes just the subject matter is not enough. But like, I'm a big Beatles fan. I mean, I can hear it in your music that you're obviously influenced by the Beatles. Have you always been like a really big Beatles fan? Is that why you've watched it so many times?
Yes, when I was 4, I first heard the Beatles on the radio. I remember the very moment I was sitting on my dad's lap pretending to drive our car, and the Beatles came on the radio, and it was "I Want to Hold Your Hand." I flipped out, and I remembered it, and I sang it for like the next couple of days, driving my parents insane. So they bought me Beatles records, to just shut me up, I think, and that was it. So since then, I've been obsessed. I've read everything I could get my hands on. When I was a kid, you remember like they used to have cake toppers, like when you get like a birthday cake and they have the action figures you could put on top, like sort of plastic.
Yeah.
I had Beatle ones, and I'd move them around to the Beatles records, so
That's
it's been that
amazing.
long-standing kind of obsession. Other people would call annoying. I, think is interesting. But that's when I knew that was coming out, it was going to be, I'm going to get the DVD or the Blu-ray or the 8-track, whatever they put it out on. I'll get it, and watch it a billion more times probably.
And so
Yeah.
you were saying that it's a lot of like footage of them. What's the structure of this one? Because like documentaries, what I love about them is like I was talking about one earlier with how it's kind of comedic and it's mostly sound scripted, whereas this seems more like they're kind of you're a fly on the wall around the Beatles. Is there like a through line or a host for it?
Well, that's absolutely correct. It is. What happened was, I don't know how familiar you are with the original Let It Be project, but the Beatles had recorded the White Album, and then literally a month later, they just said, okay, well, we're going to write and record a brand new record in 2 weeks' time. And at the end of this process, we are going to play our first live show in 3 years. And I don't know how they expected to do this in 2 weeks. It is difficult to write a song sometimes in a week, and then they're writing 14. And so they shot hours and hours. It wound up not just being 2 hours. It wound up 2 weeks. It wound up being like 3.5 weeks. And in the process, George left the band for a couple of days, and they weren't sure if he was going to come back. And Paul and John are fighting, and it's just it kind of devolved into mayhem. And then at the end they pull it together and they wind up just saying, we're not going to do this crazy show, we're just going to go play on the roof of our building, and which is what they did. So it's all fly on the wall stuff, but Peter Jackson kind of just presents it in a way that you're able to like, it's like you're sitting in the room and you're as bored as they are, or you're excited as they are, or you're as nervous or upset as they are. It just allows you to feel like you may as well be their engineer Glenn Johns in the room, or you're just there, and you're allowed to make your own or to create your own interpretation of what's going on. And no one's like kind of making you feel anything. That's what I like about it the most. It just presents the stuff in a way that you feel like you were there, and just as if you were sitting there, you would develop certain feelings about what Paul was like, what John was like, what Ringo and Paul's relationship was like, et cetera, and so on. So that's what I like most about it. It doesn't tell you anything really. It allows you to feel how you want to, and about them as you want to.
I love
There's
that.
something good about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
remember when the two opposing Fire Festival documentaries came out, like how easy it is to take the same story, and depending on the storyteller behind it, like a completely different picture you could get. Because I remember one was very much like the Firefest team were just a bunch of dummies who were in over their head, and the other one was like, no, they were acting with malicious intent. They wanted to grift people from their, it's really
Right.
interesting how cognizant you need to be even when watching documentaries of like who's behind the camera and what do they want you to take from that. So it's really cool to hear that Peter Jackson, like, I'm not surprised. Like, Peter Jackson is super, like, a really, like, incredible filmmaker. Just, like, let it be,
Yeah.
Yeah, and he did. It was extraordinary. I because again, watching it, especially, I have bootlegs of, I have outtakes of the Let It Be film. I thought I had, I was sitting on a treasure trove, and I had nothing compared to what they actually really had, and the qualities surely is amazing. The idea that someone who's been obsessing about the Beatles for years and years could find something new in that band,
Right.
after all this time. So I wonder, I'm curious too, just to talk to people who maybe aren't as obsessive about the Beatles, that watch it and what they take away from it. So I look forward, if you guys do watch it, I'd love to hear what you think about it, because Well, Matt, I know you said you're a Beatles fan. I don't know how big of a Beatles fan you are, but I
wouldn't say that like
you wouldn't sit for 6 hours and watch them talking about stuff.
I mean, I would watch Peter Jackson make anything for 6 hours.
Okay, cool.
So
yeah.
like, I'm definitely coming from it from a more like Peter Jackson focused, influential filmmaker that I love a lot. But I think the Beatles are a great band. Like,
sure.
Do not get it twisted.
I think it's hard to not know they exist at this point, right? Like the Beatles are kind of one of the most ubiquitous bands in existence. But yeah, I mean, it's funny. I grew up in a similar way to you. Like I remember as a little kid hearing "I Want to Hold Your Hand," and like my dad would joke around with me. Like I would ask him to hold my hand when we were walking when I was a little boy, and then instead of holding my hand, he would sing at me, "I want to hold your hand," and I'd get annoyed. But like even when I got much older, when Rock Band was like at the height of its popularity, me as a not talented musician but liked those kinds of games, owned every version of Rock Band. And when they announced Beatles Rock Band, I bought it day one because it just brought me closer to those songs in a way that I never thought I could be. And so I'm very interested in watching this documentary. I mean, I am a underdog as far as Beatles fan because I'm a George fan. George Harrison has always been my favorite Beatle. I think I finally gave it away, but when they released Beatles Rock Band, you could get one of their instruments, like a plastic replica. And so I got his Gretsch, a replica of George Harrison's Gretsch, which I think I gave to a friend recently because I don't have Rock Band anymore. But like, I Got My Mind Set on You is one of my favorite songs of all time. Only recently discovering it was a cover. I had no idea until I watched a previous movie I brought on the show, Last Night in Soho. They played the original in that movie, and I was like, oh, shoot, I had no idea this was a cover. But go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you first.
I was just going to say, I knew that this was coming, but I think I just forgot. So I'm definitely interested in watching it. I'm also a big music nerd. I mean, as you know, Joe, I had several music podcasts for a while. And so like this scratches a different kind of part of my brain. And so I will have to like set aside time to watch it. But I'm definitely interested in seeing it.
Well, and each episode is 2 hours long. I'm sorry. Sorry.
I was just going to say, thank you, Matt, for like reminding me of Beatles Rock Band because like that recontextualized the band for me because when I was growing up, like everything was like oldies on the radio. And so like the Beatles came in the same package as like Michael Bolton. And so it was really hard to differentiate like eras of music because it was all kind of coming in that like radio gaga, like what are you going to do? So thank you, because I just went back in time and was like, I remember playing Beatles Rock Band and just being like, this is a really cool band. I like everything that's happening here. I'm also in college and I'm at a frat party and we're playing Rock Band. So fuzzy, warm memories from multiple angles.
Well, the cool thing is when you watch the film, you see things like, Paul McCartney, basically, you watch him just coming up with Get Back. He just starts writing it. And you're like, what's happening? I can't believe this. They're putting this song together. And before you know it, it's what you recognize. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is like incredible to witness, the talent. It's like, wow, it's unbelievable.
It's easy to forget that the Beatles, like a lot of other bands of that era, are humans. They're just people because it doesn't feel like it. Like my favorite rock band of all time is Queen. Freddie Mercury, I will always say there will never be a singer like him. There will be singers who are as talented as him, but no one will ever be like him. He was so unique. But like, I love watching old interviews with him because he's so casual. He's kind of soft spoken. He's just kind of just a guy. And like, it's very easy to put these bands on these pedestals, and they deserve to be for one reason or another. But like, I love that this documentary is just like you're hanging out with the guys, because like even later interviews with Paul and Ringo and George and even John, the limited time we had with John, like they all had this kind of air of rock royalty to them when they did public speaking events, but like to be a fly on the wall in the room and through Peter Jackson's eyes kind of get to navigate this space, I think sounds really cool. So I'm definitely excited to watch it, because also Beatles are one of those bands that like, if they're on, I'll definitely listen. And every so often I'll just put them on to listen to them with intent, but they're often a band that just kind of exist everywhere. Like they're so common to hear.
Ubiquitous and a monoculture of their own.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Joe, if you had to describe the Beatles' Get Back in just 3 words without using the band's name or the words Get Back, what 3 words would you use to describe this documentary series?
Needed a manager. They needed a manager. They needed somebody to tell them, "Hey guys, you don't have to write 14 songs and play a concert in 14 days. You don't have to, seriously, like you just keep watching this thing." And the one thing I took away was like, gosh, you guys, you really just needed a manager. You know what I mean? You really needed somebody to deal with, It's so sad. You're just like, this was avoidable, so needed a manager.
But try telling a YouTuber not to do the cinnamon challenge, like.
Yeah, right? It's like, we're hurting cats, I'm sure. Awesome. Well, thank you for that. Joe, I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you.
I've been such a genuine fan of your work, and your new album, Bridge and Tunnel, what I really loved about it is when I was listening to it the other day, obviously we're not traveling much. Omicron's at its peak, and we're hunkering down again. COVID won't go away yet, but listening to Bridge and Tunnel, and I'm sure this is intentional because it's just even in the name, feels like a traveling record, right? Like it feels like you're going somewhere. Mm-hmm. Was that the intent? Because obviously with songs like LIRR, which is for the Long Island Railroad, was that your vision for this record when you were writing it? Was songs to travel to or reflecting on travel?
It's interesting. Sort of, kind of. I grew up out east on Long Island, and so living in close proximity to New York City, that was the dream, right? Is that you kind of grow up and go to the city.
Yeah.
And New York being one of the greatest cities in the world, it was, I think all the songs are about escape or trying to get to that level, and or I don't know what it means when you get there, and if it means anything. So it's not so much traveling in the sense of going from a kind of rural or suburban existence to the dream of the big city, escaping that kind of small town vibe, and going somewhere that is more open and exciting and the promise of something interesting and new, so that to that extent, yes, they're, I guess, they're traveling from going somewhere.
Yeah, there's definitely a strong sense of location in a lot of these songs. One that I particularly love because my little heart just went, oh, one day I'll get back there. Library, library bar, this the full title, but it's about the library, the bar, and the way that you've captured that library energy within the music. It was so strongly located that I was like, oh, I'm in the library. I want to go back there. What a great little spot. It's still around, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. From what because my brother-in-law lives 8 blocks down. That's his hang, and I discovered that place through him. He'd take me there, and I loved it. I loved hanging out there. I enjoy it. Everybody's super nice there, and really, I'm kind of more making fun of the what Mickey Dolenz referred to as the hippoisie, but the people in that bar are super nice. You know what I'm saying? I've never experienced anybody who was the bartenders. Everybody was really cool. I love that place. But gosh, wouldn't you like to just go hang out in a bar? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of
Oh yeah.
It just the last 2 years have been like a blur of being home, which is okay. I mean, you want to be safe and you want to, but it's just little things we took for granted that you miss.
Yeah, just today I was thinking I desperately want to see something new, entirely new. It doesn't have to be anything like a new restaurant I've never been inside, or a new watering hole. I just that urge is so strong, and I was getting ready for podcasting and listening to Library Bar while I was doing it, and I was just like, that's a sense of location, it's deeply comforting. So thank you for the comfort today.
Yeah. No, thank you for listening. Yeah, and the thing is, all those songs, they do all revolve around New York, even though they're not really autobiographical or anything. You write about whatever, but to use I knew New York, and I knew, 'cause having grown up there, so that was kind of, it was easy to write about that area, and to give it kind of a central theme. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a friend of mine suggested, because I had written 5 songs about New York, and a friend of mine was like, well, why don't you just keep writing about, like, keep using New York, and I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I should do that. And then that's what I did.
It's fun as a New Yorker to have this record, like, because it does feel familiar to me, especially since it's about a city that I can't see much anymore. Like, it was so ubiquitous to be on the subway or to travel. And like, I went to a concert, I don't know, last month, a few weeks back. I don't know, time's a lake. But like, and like just standing outside the event, all wearing masks, and then going to see the music live was like such an experience that I didn't realize how badly I missed until I was there. Like, this album gives me the sense of that. Something I want to ask about, though, because the last time we spoke was when Adventureland came out. It was back in 2019. You have, since 2018, have written an album a year. Before that, your last album, Also Rans, was 2015. And then from 2018 on, you've written an album a year. That's phenomenal. Was that something you set out to do, or is it just kind of worked out that way?
No, I just have no sense of quality control. I just keep everything I write, I just put out. No, it wasn't. I just had songs I wanted to record. That's it. And I'm one of those people that if I finish one project, then I immediately feel really like I'm not accomplishing anything if I haven't written anything, if I haven't done anything new. And that's not always the best feeling. Like, I'm like, right now I'm actually working on new stuff, but I'm trying to like record really purposefully terrible sounding demos so I don't take them any further. So I actually have to slow
like
down,
work
because
on them and
this record's still relatively new. It's like, what am I but yeah, it's right. 2019 was Adventureland, and then Fall Back, and then I did an EP called Summer of Lies, with my friend Scott, and then wow, I just realized I honestly didn't think about it, but I don't know.
It's really cool. I mean, like I said, I've been a fan of your stuff for a while. I'm curious with Bridge and Tunnel, like, how long was the process? And more generally, I guess, from like inception and idea to execution and album release, is it always the same amount of time? Is it vary song to song? Does it vary album to album? Like, how does your process shake out? Does it just evolve depending on what you're working on?
Yeah, I think that, it just, some songs come together very quickly. And what happens for me usually is I'll have like 4 or 5, or anywhere between 4 and 6 songs, and they come together like really quick. And it's then all of a sudden I just hit a wall. And then I'm just like, oh my gosh, am I going to do an EP, or am I going to do, should I just stop? Like, and then I'm like, I can't write. I don't know what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, like, an idea will come, and then I have like another 3 or 4 in a row. But I have to go, I seem to always go through that where I get the first couple out real quick, and then all of a sudden I just hit this wall where I think I'm the most talentless person on earth, and I can't think of an idea, and that's it.
You have imposter syndrome as an artist? What? That's so shocking to me. I've never experienced that before.
I'm starting to wonder if maybe like the common thread of this podcast isn't movies and television as discussion. It's just, look at all these incredibly freaking talented people, and they're just like, I don't know,
I'm
like,
not that great.
Like, everyone is amazing. Joe, you're amazing. Your music is amazing.
Thank you very much.
It's a joy to listen to. Thank you. You did the work. I got to listen. Like, I got to put on foundation today while you kept me company. So
thank you.
I want to talk a little bit about this specific album some more. Rachel mentioned Library Bar, which is a great track that takes you to a place, and like, but in the same way, you have a song called LIRR, for those who don't know, which stands for the Long Island Railroad I mentioned earlier. That also takes you to a place, but it doesn't have the same feel as Library Bar. It feels more distant. It feels more like you're traveling. Obviously, that's what trains do. Like, when you're writing a song, is setting important to you? Is setting a mood important to you? Or is that just kind of a happenstance based on your writing process?
I think it depends. Like with that song, I think at that point, I'd had the music already, and me and my brother-in-law Jay, we had written the music to that song together, and I was sitting around, and that's at that point I'd realized, okay, well, I'm going to keep writing on this New York theme. And we've all been on the Long Island Railroad. It's great. I love because the public transportation. I live outside of New Orleans, and we don't have that down here.
Right.
So it's just like they have trolleys and stuff or streetcars in New Orleans, but you don't have like the LIRR type thing. And I've ridden on it enough and looked out the window and kind of thought about, okay, what if this was my life every single day, where I rode this train in and out, and I just imagine what it would feel like for those people. Like, I would be going in and out for specific purposes, going to a show or going to meet someone or, recording or do something. I know people, I had people in my family that would ride the train every day. And I just imagine what it would be like if you were riding the train on the, 8,000th day of riding the train, and you looked out the window and it was sort of rainy, and you thought, oh, damn, is this it? Is this it? And it was it's not the most uplifting thing to write about, but I guess, even then, where do you find shreds of optimism? Is there something to look forward to, whether it's maybe, switching careers, or maybe retirement, or maybe just kind of just making a conscious decision, I'm not going to ride this train anymore, so that's kind of where that came from, it just kind of, but it's like a made up scenario, really, just kind of, but that was and so I honestly, I think that I don't even remember writing the lyrics. I think I just kind of, like I say, I remember, I just thought about one day riding the train, but looking out the window and looking at the electric poles, the metal ones, as you get closer to the city. Or if you go to Connecticut, there's a specific kind of electric pole, and then the trees that go by, and it just all came out from thinking about that image. So I don't know where it came from, to be honest with you. It just kind of popped out.
I love that, though. I mean, that's what always fascinates me about the music writing process, right? Is that and like a lot of art forms can be kind of ephemeral. Like, you don't always know. I've written one song my whole life, and not music. I wrote lyrics once, and like, it's still, thinking back on it, it happened in college. I still have the song somewhere in my Google Drives. But like, I was in college, I was in a journalism class, and it just poured out of me. I had just recently gone through a breakup, and like, next thing I knew, I had a page of lyrics. And like, before that, I would never believe a musician to say that's how it happens, because it doesn't make sense to me. But it's so much closer to akin to magic when you experience it. And hearing you talk about it, like, I can understand that, and it's really fascinating to me. What I love
happened
about
to you?
Yeah,
Right.
it did.
You did it,
Yeah.
So you can relate directly,
The cat of ideas visited you, like, you kind of just think
exactly.
about it like this cat. Like, don't chase it. It's not, you gotta let it arrive. And then it's like, hi, would you like a song today? And you're like, thank you, idea cat. Here's a treat. I hope you return again after COVID's over.
Good kitty.
Good kitty. So one thing that's always fascinated me about the Junior League, which is you are the band, more or less. You've played with other folks live, I know. You're a multi-instrumentalist. Is there an instrument that you don't currently play that you wish you had time to learn to play, or that you want to learn to play, or that you have recently learned to play? Like, I'm always fascinated by people who play multiple stuff, because I can barely wrap my head around playing a kazoo, let alone multiple instruments. So I've always been curious, like, are you seeking out new instruments to learn?
Matt, a kazoo, you just hum.
I know.
Don't you come for my precious kazoo, child. I love the kazoo. I have 3 of
I do
them within reach at this moment.
I really, you just inspired me. I want to go buy a kazoo. I don't have one. And I love kazoo.
Oh
They're
my
so
gosh.
much fun.
I have this beautiful wooden electric kazoo, and it is one of my most favorite possessions.
Did you use electric kazoo?
Yeah, it's got a pickup
Really?
on the front. It's so
That's
cool.
fantastic.
Yeah.
That probably sounds
That's amazing.
great.
Yeah, it's so lovely. I haven't got to like plug it in because I've been trapped indoors since getting it, but I was like, I need this.
Oh, you could put that through a distortion pedal and delay
yeah.
and all
Are you
sorts. So you could
kidding?
really make amazing sounds.
I
with
have to
that.
get a distortion pedal because I want to distort my ukulele and I want to distort my kazoo, and I don't know why. I just like want to make weird sounds.
That's excellent. Yeah, you definitely get like a whole pedal board going, and you could really make some of this you could make a whole record just with the effects, and that would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know? But to address your question, honestly, I just wish I played the instruments I played well better. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, sure.
I'm confident playing the drums. And I love playing bass, but I just kind of fiddle around. I like even guitar. Like I wish that I would like to be better at those instruments than I feel I am. And piano. I wish I could play proper keyboards like really really well. I can like kind of play very simple chords, but that's it. Like or whatever chords I guess you call it. But yeah, that I think instead of learning yet another instrument that I don't really play super well, you know what I mean? Like I'd like to
totally.
like play a little bit more confident on that. But I do enough to get by. I can maybe like wouldn't it be cool to play like saxophone or something? I mean,
sure.
Yeah. I think the saxophone
Makes everything classier for sure.
Yeah.
I just kind of just so I could play like really cheesy.
Yeah, sure.
Like kind of, I don't know. It would just be fun.
Oh yeah, I used to work for a tour bus show, and one of the elements was we would drive up to a saxophone player, and so like I met so many saxophone players, and their careers just like knowing that instrument takes them so far because everybody loves the saxophone. You literally can't be mad if someone's like, I have the saxophone and I'm pretty good at playing it. You're just like, play me everything. I don't care. Go nuts.
Well, it's funny too because it's so associated with either like 50s and early 60s music or 80s music. It made this like big comeback in the 80s where all of a sudden like, you had Huey Lewis and the News had a saxophone, and what was that song Glenn Frey did? The Heat Is On. Remember that song? The Heat.
Yeah.
I think that's a saxophone, but so I guess you could play all your favorite 80s hits, or you could play doo-wop songs. I don't know.
Yeah.
A question I like to ask musicians is what they're into right now. We're all stuck inside a lot. We should be. If you're not, get vaccinated, wear a mask, all that stuff.
Get boosted, please. Thank you.
Get boosted,
We love
please, and
you.
thank you. But I'm always curious, musicians, especially since you just admitted that you are already writing your next album on some level. You're working on it already because you can't stop. What have you been listening to? Are there any bands or artists that have been really resonating with you, new or old?
Well, I'm one of those people that I have my favorite groups and I just obsess over them, so I'll listen to them over and over again. And like the Beatles is an obvious choice. But as far as like new stuff that I was unfamiliar with previously, there's a band called Heron and Crane. That my friend Jay, who's in a really talented band called Sloan, I heard about this band Heron and Crane through him. And they have a song called Projectiles off their last record, and their last record is called, oh my gosh, Streams, or I'll look it up so I can tell you the
Streams.
name.
It's called Streams.
Is it Streams?
Yeah.
You know it.
No, I just looked it up on
It's
Spotify.
As
soon as you were like, I have music recommendations, I'm like, I'm the bitch for that. Tell me everything.
I love it. Oh yeah, the Heron and Crane record is really, really good. And that song Projectiles is beautiful. I think it's phenomenal. That really kind of was like, wow, this is great. And then there's a band from the early 70s, and I just heard them, so I know I'm cheating a little bit by looking, but it was really recently that I heard about them, and I didn't know who they were, but they're called We All Together, and I think they were from Peru or something, but they sound like Badfinger, or
cool.
They're very and I think they're listening to their records. They're almost as good, if not as Badfinger. I mean, like I was just like blown away by how good that was. So those two things have been, kind of on my radar of late.
Very nice.
Cool.
And everything else that I always listen to anyway. The -5,
Sure.
Sloan. That I will. Or actually, what I've been listening to? I used to love The Police, and I've been listening to The Police a lot.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
So.
Yeah, I feel like, at least for me in the pandemic, and I'm guessing it's the same for you, Joe, like I've fallen back. Like I used to always listen to new music, and it helps that I don't have a music podcast that I'm listening to a new album every week anymore. But like I always used to hunt down new music. I find now I let new music find me from the artists I already like, but I'm not during the pandemic, especially, I feel like I'm leaning more into my comforts and not listening to new stuff. Do you find yourself doing the same, like going back to your old favorites, movies and TV and music because you're stuck inside?
Yeah, it's like comfort food, you know.
Yeah.
I do, and I do that anyway with music a lot. Like I don't get sick. Like, you know, everybody's like, oh, you know, my wife, my parents are like, are you sick of the Beatles? Like, you still listen to the Beatles? I was like, no, but I love it, you know. But you know, or I obviously I'll check out things that my friends have done. Like my friend Mike, I have a couple friends in this band called Split Squad. They just put out a record. It's great. It's like the greatest pop rock record. It's like so great. So I'll listen to that. But I'm like in this little bubble. I don't really, you know, people have to kind of show it to me, say, hey Joe, check this out. And it's like, oh, okay, you know. I'll watch even with TV shows, you know, I'll just watch movies from when I was a kid. You know, like I'll watch Pete's Dragon, the original Pete's Dragon, or I'll watch, you know, you know, just kind of, because I think that right now we're, you know, like you say, we're all kind of stuck, and I think that we're just looking for things to take us back to, like when I'm home. It's funny. The other day I was home, I wasn't feeling well, and I was like looking out the window, and in the afternoon sun comes in your window, and I had this strong feeling of when I was a kid and when you're sick and you're home from school, and if the afternoon you think it's special that you're home because it's 2 p.m, the sun's coming through the window and you're like, I'm not at school, you know. And that's what it felt like, and I'm like, gosh, maybe that's what this whole thing's been like. So you seek out things that put you in that space as well. I mean, maybe I'm kind of taking it too far.
Oh,
but
no,
I love that. I love that imagery.
Have certain like musical like playlist memories where you're just kind of like, suddenly that song comes on and you're like, I can remember the taste of things that are associated with this song, or like that really bittersweet memory of like the person who this song was for me, you know. It's nice, and it's especially difficult to form new memories. Again, that desire that I was having of like, I want to see something new. It's like hard to form those new memories when you're not surrounded by life and living it, you know. It's just really surprised that I went into quarantine a 32-year-old person and will come out a 35-year-old person, you know. Like, what?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think also for me, like, I'm like growing up, I always, and it's also from lack of having a lot of new video games, but like I would often play the same video game over and over again, right? I had the same 3 games on Nintendo, so I play those games over and over again. Whereas now as an adult and with some means and being, you know, fortunate enough that I can buy more new games. And in 2021 and even in 2022, I found more comfort in playing new things, but returning to old genres. Like I used to play a lot of JRPGs growing up. There's a new one that just came out called Tales of Arise. It came out last year. It's from a series that I'd never really played before. And I find when I'm sitting on the couch and playing it, I feel really comfortable and warm because it's a type of game that I'm familiar with, but it's a new experience. And I think that, like, to tie it back to your music, I know I've not heard this record before, but I've had the feeling that Bridge and Tunnel gives me before. And what I really love about this record is when I listen to it, it's new, but it feels like home because you're singing about my city, the city I live in, but also it feels like an experience that's familiar to me. And it gives me that warmth that kind of experience gives.
Your music is recontextualizing like memories that like we have as denizens here. You know, formerly or currently, however, you know, how are we all denizens? Any of us right now? We can't go outside.
Right.
But yeah, it's really cool. And now I do want to ask like one random question for the room. Sometimes I do this. I'm not a great interviewer, but sometimes
you're fine. Stop.
We all have imposter syndrome here. We all float down here. But I'm wondering, because we're talking a lot about like location and art and like this particular city. What is like a movie or TV for you where you're just like, this is the thing that shows me that this city is the city I know? You know, like not like it's this is the movie that's like, this movie makes it home for me, you know, but the one where you're just like, this one gets it and like I understand it and I live it too.
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know if I can answer that.
during the pandemic, well, I'll stall for you by
please,
answering. During the early parts of the pandemic, the movie Soul came out, and it's not a perfect movie, but I really enjoyed it. But when he gets on the train, and the band is playing on the platform, I turned to my partner. I was like, I'm getting emotional. This is a New York movie. I can't go out into the city because this is like at the height of the pandemic. And like the early days, but that movie felt like New York because it was very, like, that character was very ingrained in New York, played by, I can't remember the name of the character, but played by Jamie Foxx. And so, like, that movie stands out to me right now because I remember that experience tying to me to New York when I watched that film.
Love that.
I saw that. It was great.
Yeah. One that's pretty recent, and I don't know if it's just like I had nostalgia goggles on of just being like, I know that place. Haha. It's like a Christmas TV Netflix series called Dash and Lily.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I never brought it because I watched something else between. But it is such a beautiful little snapshot of like the Union Square area. Like the Strand bookstore plays like a big role in the plot, you know, and so does Two Boots Pizza over by the old UCB East. And just like getting to go on this trip where this crew is absolutely in these locations was a delight. Just to be like, I know that place. I have my memories there, you know. It was a really like cool, like, reach out and like touch the city without actually being in the city. They did not understand how Macy's Santaland works though, but like I have intimate knowledge of that.
That is true.
Yeah, it's really difficult to like capture that because like Macy's is so secretive about like how they work with Santa, you know. But yeah, it's a really cool, like, it utilizes locales to be really great touchstones for the characters and their journeys. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
That's
it's really
awesome.
cute. It's also very silly. It's like two teens who are in love because they're writing in a notebook together and they haven't met.
You know, I think there was a show that used to be on when I was younger called Kate and Allie. And that for me, you know, being out east on Long Island and looking outward, you know, remember, you know, Bridge and Tunnel is slang for people that, you know, come in from the suburbs and hang out in the city, right? So like, and that was, you know, so even though I've spent so much time in New York and I've hung out, you know, I feel very familiar with the city. I love it, but I still always feel like I'm just that guy from Long Island, or, you know, like an outsider, even though, you know, and so I used to watch Kate and Ellie, and to me that was like, well, that's going to be what it's like. I'm going to live in an apartment, and it might be like a basement apartment, and that's what, you know, I wasn't even sure. I assumed they were up on the, they lived on the Upper West Side maybe, but I don't know where Kate and Allie supposedly took place. But in my little brain, that was the future. That's what it would be like. I would, you know, and I'd probably know people like Kate and Allie. I even had a crush on Allison Smith, who is Kate. It was not Susan St. James, but Jane Curtin's daughter in the show. I mean, it was. I even went to a taping of that show.
Oh wow!
I mean, I got to go. I was like 11 or something. I was just so excited because it was at the old Ed Sullivan Theater, and you know, so that to me, and I haven't watched that show in forever. I think I like a year ago when we were home, I looked it up and I found it and I watched it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, and then that did give me a sense of, I guess, my imagined sense of what New York was, not what I know New York to be in my real experiences, you know. But sometimes you fall back on that, the idealized version of it, you know. Not that I need to idealize. I love New York, you know, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, because like
sure.
there's the New York that she shows to like visitors, and then there's the New York when she's like, "Oh, you're here. You saw a human poop on the platform. Well, welcome. That was the
city.
password. Get on in here, like."
Come on in.
Well, it's so funny. I miss it so much, and you guys talking about it, but you don't get to really experience it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I look forward to when we can all kind of
do that together.
Back. Yeah, exactly. And go to the library or have a drink.
Yeah,
right, exactly. Yeah, let's do it. Well, Joe, this has been delightful.
Yeah, thank you, Joe.
We're going to wrap up.
Thank you.
And we're going to wrap up and ask you our final question in just a moment. But before we get to all that, I would love for you to tell folks where they can find you online, where they can find Bridge and Tunnel online, the best place to spend their hard-earned money on your awesome music.
Oh, thank you. Well, the best place to go would be www.thejuniorleague, all spelled out, .bandcamp.com. And if you're somebody who wants physical copies of the CD, you could go to Cool Cat Music. It's KOOLMUSIK KAT.com. Cool Cat Music. I spelled that wrong. KOOLKATMUSIK.com. Can't spell. But the Bandcamp, that would be the best place to find all your junior league, to fulfill your junior league needs. Is the Bandcamp page. That's where it's at.
Awesome.
And I
have
awesome.
Twitter at the Junior League spelled out. And I'm on Instagram at the Junior League as well.
So easy to look Joe up. I did it while Joe was plugging. So
There you go.
there
See,
you
it's
go.
that
I'm on
simple.
the Bandcamp page, looking at it. Beautiful
Awesome.
stuff.
Thank you.
Please go buy Joe's music. Please go listen to it on Spotify and buy it. That way he gets it from both ends.
Thank you.
As they say.
Yeah, if you're a person who doesn't listen to things at night, just turn it on in another room that you're not in and just let it play on repeat.
There
That's
you go.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Game
let the-
this
let the revenue
algorithm
come.
system before it games all of us.
Yeah.
But definitely go check out Joe's stuff.
Yeah, please do.
I've been a fan for a long time, and I'm so grateful to have him here. Don't go anywhere, Joe. We're going to ask you our final question. But first, Rachel, we should thank some folks.
Yes, thank you so much to John Presnell for the use of the song Aurora off the album Fair Game featuring Stefan Rimble. Please don't be jealous that we had another musician on. We still love your track. It's a great button for our bullshit.
It sure is. We also want to thank the incredible Katie Bug, who designed our logo. And I want to dedicate this episode to her cat, Nick Tesla, who recently had to be put to sleep. He was my favorite cat, and I'm allergic to cats, so that says something. And so, Katie, if you're listening, we dedicate this episode to Nick Tesla.
Yeah.
We will miss that awesome cat.
May Nick Tesla be fist bumping Nick Tesla in the great yarn ball depository in the sky.
There you go. You got there. I believed in you.
Ooh, it was real touch and go there for a minute. Woo! And I would like very much to thank the Never Touch and Go, a Certain Point of View podcast network, who helps us, supports us, is a community for us. We love you. I'm so excited to see all your cute little faces for our little party. My babies. There's so many great shows to check out on the Certain Point of View podcast network, including Books That Burn and
Yes, that's one.
Comics Quest.
That's also a show, yes.
And there's the Mass Effect one that you do.
Reignite.
That one. Yep.
Yeah.
And
This would
many
always be
more.
You would think by now you just open the webpage before doing the plug.
You know
but
what?
no,
You think I would, but I'm honoring the bit.
you're honoring the bit. Yes, please go to certainpov.com. You can also join our Discord server where we chat about TV, music, movies, books, and more. We also chat about new episodes of all the different shows on the network. And also go to both iTunes and Spotify and rate and review us. On iTunes and Spotify, rating and review us helps us get featured, helps more folks find the show. Spotify is super simple. You listen to a couple of minutes of the show, and then you just give us a star rating. There's no review to write. Super simple. Please go do that for us. We greatly appreciate it. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us at @screen_snark on Twitter. I'm at DJ_Stommergeddon.
I am Rachel Quirky.
And you can also write us a missive at screensnarkpod@gmail.com. And we are screensnark at facebook.com as well. So please reach out. We love hearing from y'all, and we appreciate y'all checking out the show. Now it is time, Rachel, for you to ask Joe our very final question of the show.
Yes, and before anyone asks, no, we do not accept carrier pigeons.
No,
Stop
sorry.
asking me.
The poop gets everywhere.
It's too much. My cat loves it when a pigeon shows up, but I can't. It's getting
No
wild.
more pigeons.
No more.
No pigeon man.
So stupid. I'm sorry, everyone, for
No,
that entire
I appreciate
thing.
it.
Joe,
Yes.
I must ask. It's my time to learn a thing that I love to know about everyone that I meet. Joe, if you could select one trope made true in movies and television to instantly and magically become true in your life, which trope would you choose?
Oh man, that's a hard question. I don't know, because I've been really lucky that a lot of things have come true for me.
So you're already living
yeah,
the born under a lucky star trope. Congratulations.
No, honestly, like
Yeah.
I know it sounds like really obnoxious to say, but I do feel that way. But I don't know. Like one of the, I guess maybe the you know, kind of. Oh gosh, that's a really hard question.
That's why we save it for the end.
It's why it's the only question that I ask, because it's the big one.
No,
You're gonna have me sitting on it like a cannon.
What would be the, you know, where everybody realizes that fighting is useless and we all we all live in peace forever. That, you know, I'm trying to think of a movie that does that at the end, where, you know, the worst of enemies come together to defeat something truly horrible. And
the Avengers Endgame trope.
Right, the enemies to friends trope. Yeah,
I think that would be. I love that. I love the idea that people who really detested one another could find common cause and put aside their differences and really grow to live in peace with each other. I know it sounds like such a, you know.
Rachel's just excited
because it's the strange magic trope.
I
Because
was-
that's what
I
happens
gotta
in
watch
Strange
that now.
Magic.
They do have the ELO song in there.
the-
The Strange Magic ELO by ELO. Is that
Yeah,
one of the songs
it's
in
yeah.
there? Oh, okay, I'm in.
Marianne and the Bog King sing it to each other when they're like on their little date before like the third act begins. Yeah, it's great. But they do like they fall in
Amazing.
love and like their two warring lands come together. Right now,
think it's now I have to
over
watch
me. It's not good.
Now you have to.
Man, we're tying everything in here now.
It's
It's
so
great.
it's so
all
fun.
very-
It's so fun though. It's very
The-
watch it with kids, I guess, is my thing. That's the justification. I don't have kids. I just like cartoons.
No, I am. I'm absolutely gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it with my son. As a matter of fact, it'll be something we can watch together.
Yeah.
And he loves the music stuff, so it'll be great. You know, and he'll know the songs.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Good.
So we have come full circle with our trope back.
Is
to
there any
where it all
cursing in
began.
that movie though?
No, there's none. Yeah.
Okay, that's what it needs. If it had the cursing in the film, then it really would be. That would be.
No,
strange.
Yeah, that's true. Then it would be
It's George Lucas
circle.
saying that he wanted to make Star Wars for 12-year-old girls because he'd already made Star Wars for 12-year-old boys.
Oh, boys.
And
yeah.
boy, howdy, do you not understand? Girls,
12-year-old girls.
like you
Yeah.
are just like
Shocking.
girls love boys and
Shocking that
Boys in
George
clouds.
Lucas. Shocking that George Lucas, who wrote such great. I mean, Princess Leia is actually a great character. Amidala, not so much.
One was a crew of people going, "No, George, you
Yeah,
can't."
and the other one, it
being
was
like,
George doing whatever he was on,
Yes,
whatever he
you
wants.
can say, "I don't like sand. It's coarse. It's rough. It gets everywhere. Not like here. Here, everything is soft and smooth."
All right, enough. Anyway, I want to thank our guest one more
Thank you,
time,
Joe.
Joe.
Thank
Joe,
you.
thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here again. Go check out the Junior League. You can find it literally wherever you find music, so go do that. I also want to, of course, thank my incredible, brilliant, beautiful blue/green-haired co-host, the awesome Rachel Quirky Shank.
And I want to thank my co-host, Clouds Full of Boys, Matt Take, aka Stormageddon.
Look, I've been called worse than that. It's fine. Totally works. And of course, we want to thank you, our incredible listeners. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for being a part of this journey. We will see you at the movies or on a couch somewhere. Bye-bye.
Aurora, 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 Aurora. Metal to magnet, she will be mine. Aurora.
Did
Did you know Rob Thomas has been writing since the mid-90s?
The Matchbox 20 guy?
No, the guy behind Veronica Mars.
Oh, and iZombie.
And Cupid, Party Down, the Cupid reboot.
I haven't seen those.
Me neither, but we should watch them and then talk about them on our podcast.
Yes. We could call it the Rob Thomas.
No, not that one.
Robcast.
Every other Tuesday with Alex and MJ.
Find us at notthatrobcast.libsyn.com or wherever you download podcasts.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.